All right, so I had some technical difficulties earlier. Listen, I'm about to post a video. The rest of the audio after the intro is going to be what I recorded before these fights happened, and why I felt like this is a do or die fight for both Daniel Cormier and Adrien Broner tonight. You know, two different sports, but I felt like both of these guys were in similar predicaments because of their emotions towards these fights. And after watching both of these guys post interviews, I said, I feel even stronger. So I got to put this up. Bear with me. After the intro, it's going to be, what I recorded before this fight. And, yeah, I think it's going towards that. Let's get it.
What do you do?
I'm an architect.
It's the architect. I'm about to make this real brief because these fights are gonna start not too long from now. I've been feeling a certain way about these two fights tonight, the main events for the UFC 214 and Adrien Broner versus Mikey Garcia. Haven't said anything. I haven't been putting out too much content, but I'm gonna probably get back on that pretty soon. But that's irrelevant for right now. Briefly, just want to say I think tonight, honestly, Adrien Broner and Daniel Cormier face a very, very similar situation. That being, I think this is make or break fights for both of these guys, man. Make or break fights for both of these guys. Why? Because of the emotional attachment to these specific fights. Listen, both of these guys are so invested in these fights that I think a loss for either one of these guys, I think their career is gonna either spiral down or just be over, man. And I'm gonna break it down real quick. Let me start with Adrien Broner, man. Adrien Broner, from what I've seen, this appears to be the most focused he's been in a long time. He's talking about not speaking to anybody, only be in contact with his kids. He feels real disrespected that Mikey Garcia is the favorite, man, and not just he's not a huge favorite, but he's a considerable favorite for this fight. And I think, I watched him. Adrien Broner really feels like people are crazy for picking Mikey Garcia over him. Now, listen, man, he's done this to himself. In a lot of circumstances, even though Mikey Garcia is technically more sound than he is, most people would pick Adrien Broner because the speed, the power, and he can fight. And he can box, like I should say. He's not a horrible boxer. When he let them hands go, he start putting hands on you. Especially dudes, 130, 35, 140 hasn't been, destroying guys. But Mikey Garcia is a smaller fighter moving up. So typically, these smaller guys, Adrien Broner has been able to handle. Now, I believe this is going to be a make or break fight for him because it's just been up and down. It's been a lot more rocky recently. And Adrien Broner, man, all the stuff that claiming he wants to end his life. And, even recently listening to him in interviews talking about, I guess he's still upset that Floyd Mayweather won't endorse him or something, or won't support him. And he's always looking for validation from other folks, man. And he need to get past that. But I feel like he's so emotionally invested. He's so locked into this training camp from what I've seen that I think it'll be very devastating if he loses this fight. I don't think Adrien Broner will be able to take this very well. And I think you can really start to see the end of his career. But, for his sake, hopefully he wins. Who'd I like to see win this fight? I think I like both fighters, man. I probably lean towards Adrien Broner because I think he makes the boxing game a little more interesting. And maybe Mikey would need probably a loss, maybe to, rethink some things, even if he should even be at 140. I don't know. I mean, Robert Garcia and that training, in that gym, I should say, most of us have been in that gym more than a lot of other gyms due to, YouTube. over the past few years, and a lot of those guys seems to not. I'm just be honest, not manage their weight as well as they should, so they tend to be in divisions that they shouldn't be in. But that's another story for another day. Let me get to DC. This was supposed to be fast. I need to make it faster. I feel like, and not just feel like, I pretty much know. I used to think DC wanted to beat John Jones for DC, but the more and more it gets closer and things have been happening and cancellations, DC wants to beat DC to show other people. And I think that's very dangerous. He really doesn't like John Jones, and he's really upset that people don't consider him the real champ. Now, you can use that as motivation, but you're already hearing him talk. He's closing in on 40, and you already hear him talking about retirement. You know what I mean? I've kind of heard him mention it. I've heard him say he doesn't want to talk about it on another show, but he's talking already about how if he beats John Jones, he wants to beat him again and then retire. And this is how I know he's worried about other people, and it's not just for DC and him, having that self-gratification that he beat John Jones and knows he's the better man. He said something interesting. He was like, he wants John Jones to feel what he felt, once he beats him twice, so he knows what it's like for people. He wants John Jones to become the champion again, so John Jones can be called not the real champion by other people, so he can feel his pain. And he wants to walk off into the sunset. Well, I'm like, shoot, if you feel that strongly about that, if DC loses tonight, what does he have left to fight for in his eyes? If he can't beat John Jones, is he going to be mentally destroyed that, there's only one other guy that I know, I have to, challenge, and it's John Jones, and I can't beat that man? Because if John Jones beats him again tonight, I don't see that fight happening again. I don't see, that's the trilogy, not the trilogy, there's no trilogy, I should say, and that rivalry is dead. It is dead. John Jones came back off a long layoff and still was able to beat DC. That's the narrative. And DC was never the real champion. A lot of the emotional ties I've seen him have to this fight over the last several years, I just don't think DC will be able to recover from it. He's too emotionally invested, and he needs to win for his sake. The only way there's a third fight is if this is an all-out classic. I'm talking about the only way there's a third fight if John Jones wins is if it's still an all-out classic, and everybody just has to see this fight again. It's close, or even if it's a knockout, but it's just a great fight. But besides that, if John Jones beats him in a similar fashion, or worse, knocks him out, this rivalry is over, man. But yeah, I just had to say that. Emotionally, these guys are very, very tied into these fights. I think it's a make or break night for both of those fellas. I think it's a night of it's going to be a lot of fights are going to be good tonight, but I think those are going to be two really good fights. And hey, I'm going to make another video about 214s, John Jones and DC, man. I've been looking forward to this fight more than any fight in UFC history. This is longer than I wanted. It's the Architect. I'm out.